Okay guys, third cut on the EQ Magnum heads. You can see a lot of finessing was done. Yeah, the chamber's still ugly, but around the uh, intake seat was done, around the exhaust seat was done. I put a bit of a polish on the exhaust because the exhaust choked. It choked at 187.2 CFM. And I'll have to show you, but inside the port I took some measurements and then I calculated out exactly how many CFM that should flow in theory on the bench, 28, and it should flow 192. Okay, it's not getting there. Now it beats it when you put a pipe on it, but it changes the dynamics when you put the pipe on it, right? So what I wanted to do was shrink up that boundary layer. Wow, fried already. You got to remember, guys, I started early this morning, and it's almost lunchtime. All right, our liquid looks pretty good. Really hasn't changed a whole lot because I haven't done a whole lot to this. I did do some work to the short side. I have to show you that. And our valve looks pretty good. Okay, you can see our splatter across the chamber. Not bad. Remember, we're still a 1.92 inch valve. I don't have a 202 to change this. We look good in the bowl. The pinch did get brought out. Did I max it out? No, it's a tiny bit smaller than the New Zealand EQs, which flowed quite well, I think, when I was all done with them. Let me see what those flowed. Okay. The Mopar EQ Magnums from New Zealand with a 1.92. The owner now wants to go up to a 202 because he saw how nicely the stock Magnum casting liked the bigger valve. This is the one, remember, we put the Performer RPM on and couldn't believe how much it choked it. Well, so this has got really good numbers everywhere on this finished up one. Okay, the texture of the short side has been worked on. It's got a tiniest amount of layback to it. It's really still the stock height. I'd like to keep it tall, because like the numbers at 300 are not fantastic. So as soon as I start knocking that back, that may take a beating. It'll also rear its ugly head when I change the valve size. As of now, we're still stock valve sub. So, and remember, it's the stock 45 that's on there. I just shrank it a little bit. Different view of the bowl. Okay, you can see the exhaust got some polish action, and then I went in there with the tiny burr and tried to take some of the lumps and bumps out around that guide. See if we got any improvements on these. Okay guys, third cut, second cut. So these pluses and minuses are in reference to these. We lost a little bit at the very low lift, and we gained everywhere else. So overall, it's a happier port. And we gained some nice bumps here and there. 300 is still sad. Okay, I'm not happy with 300. But 500, we went up. It maxed out at 254 at 0.525 lift, which is about the same as it maxed out here. But it also sounded better. Okay, and we topped out a little bit better over here. Take a look at our swirl. Our swirl radically changed. Why would it change, Charlie? Well, probably due to that short side more than anything else, right? The more air you get around the short side, the more the air wants to flow in the opposite direction of the swirl. until you lose it over the short side, and then it all has to go in the direction of the swirl, which is what I think we've got here. Now this doesn't bother me. I don't want a lot of swirl with these lower numbers, right? And then by 0.35, we're already starting to go across that short side and lose it. It's starting to separate at that point. I actually like that curve. In any case, I like this curve and these flows better than this one. So I'm going to take it as a win, and that one's going to stay that way until we get a 202 that I can start doing some work with. Let's take a look at our airspeeds. Okay, that is what our airspeeds first looked like. Gave the pinch more area, so the roof died. Okay, but we still got tons of speed in the bottom and the middle. Take a look at the center of the cylinder and cylinder wall roof. They only changed the smallest amount. And now that our short side is more efficient, what happens? Up minus up. It's a happier short side, right? Look how even it is across that. And remember, it's very hard to get to the center of the cylinder wall because it's so far over. In fact, I ruined a couple burrs trying to get in there, because what they do is they jam against the opening and the wall and bend the shaft. Once they're bent, they're bent. I've been working on ways to straighten them, but what are you going to do? Part of the price of doing business, I guess. All right, let's take a look at the exhaust. Okay. As far as that, I believe that's a touch better than what we had last time. Okay, as far as our exhaust, this was last cut. This is this cut. How'd we do? Well, now what did I change? I just fixed that chamber a little bit around the valve seat, and I changed the texture. I sand rolled it. I hate sand rolling, by the way. But I wanted to shrink that boundary layer. So did it help? Remember, we had 2 spots of noise over here? Well, we still got noise. But we also have lower flows. We don't start picking up till 300. 300, it beats it over here. 350, it starts to buff it. It makes a funny sound. And look at the jump, right? We had a big jump here, too. Okay, we got a big jump, and she started buffeting, but it only happened at that lift. After that, it got real quiet and was going pretty good. Now remember, it only calcs out, it should only flow 192. Take a look at it. Now, what's that calculation? Well, you take the height, you take the width, you subtract the corner radius, that gives you your square inches, right? Multiply that by 146 CFM per square inch at 28 inches of water. And that's, in theory, the most air you can get through that size hole. And then somebody's going to say, oh, Charlie, you can't. It's flowing 223. We've gone over this before, but I'll do it again for those really thick-headed people. If you pay attention to Bernoulli's equation, right, and shape the port similar to a bent Venturi, we can get more than 100% efficiency out of it. How is that possible? Well, at that constricted point, the pressure drops. So in reality, it sees more than 28 inches of vacuum at that point. Okay? In any case, I'm going to take a good look at the Aussie head, because the Aussie head beat this by about 10 CFM. I'm willing to bet the Aussie port's quite a bit bigger. Okay, these are the Aussie flows. Tops out 207, 236 at 600. All right, that's a huge difference, right? And it's got the same size valve. So I'm going to take a good look at how I did that one. I'm willing to bet it's because this head has that curved roof I was talking about at the very first time we looked at these. And the Aussie head was relatively flat on the roof. Right? It had more area there. And that's what I think it's going to need. Let's take a look at our air speeds. Okay, this is what our air speeds were. They were quite good. Okay. This cut, let's do pluses and minuses on that. Okay, that's where we started. And this is where we end. Now, the only thing I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to add area to that roof. Notice how high those speeds are in the middle of the port. Right? Nice and even across. Really good, actually, for the size. Even the floor's not bad. Yeah, we got just still a little dead in the middle, but not terrible. And 308 in that bottom right corner is not bad at all. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pluses. We've got 3 minuses. We got 1 equals. Center of that port is moving. Okay. So overall, not a huge win. Not 100% sure why we lost so much at the lower lifts. Something I need to look at. Alright, guys. I don't know if you're going to see these until we get some bigger valves to put in here. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. Have a good night.